What's up, everybody, and welcome to the webinar today. I'm really glad you could join us. So hopefully everybody here was with us last week. And last week we talked about how you can conduct a winning presentation. And I mentioned many times that we were going to have the webinar that we're having this week, where we're going to be diving into talking about the other two parts of a presentation. So as you'll hear me commonly say, there's three parts to doing any kind of presentation. There's gathering intelligence, getting the information you need to know what the person's hot buttons are, what they're interested in, basically the information you're going to need, the intelligence you're going to need to actually close the sale and to do a presentation. There's the presentation aspect where you're actually talking about features, benefits of the product, et cetera, et cetera. And there's the close. There's the part where you're actually asking for the money, overcoming objections, and getting the deal closed. Well, what's nice about being a partner with us is that we do a lot of enrollments. And in doing a lot of enrollments, we know what works, we know what doesn't work. So last week we talked a lot about what works when it comes to actual presentations. You got to hear and see exactly how I'd go through and do a demo presentation, what I'd say each step along the way, even with some sidebars with me giving you more insight of why we do or say what we do and say. But look, any presentation will fail if you don't close well and if you don't gather intelligence well. These are the two most important part of any presentation, because you need to know information about the person you're presenting to even know it's a good fit for them. And once you know that what we have is a good fit for them, well, then that came from intelligence you gathered initially, and you need to then show them and link the two together. How? By getting the information that they mentioned to you early in the presentation and reciting it back to them, that's why the finance suite makes so much sense. Once you go through it, they like it, they love it, then the next logical step is you then need to close the sale. So today that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about gathering intelligence, what you need to do in the beginning part of a presentation. We're also going to be talking about how you close the actual sale, what you say at the end to close an actual sale. Now, before we jump in, I want to talk about two things really quick. Next week, I will not be here. This is the second week ever in my entire life I've actually taken a vacation. I'm going to go chill with my family a bit over at Disney for the week. And Megan will be stepping in my place. So a lot of you know Megan. Megan Christensen is our COO. She's the one responsible for everything you see in the back office, all the innovation, the technology, the tech side of what we do. Megan is in charge of, as well as she oversees our advising team. Our team leads in several other divisions and does a lot of things. So I will miss you, but I'm sure you won't miss me. You might even like to have Megan in my place next week. So she'll be hosting the webinar next week in my absence. The other thing I want to mention is the week after, when I come back, we're going to be spending time going through the new Spanish rollout. So if you haven't seen the Spanish rollout, you should be getting emails and start seeing things in Facebook, etc., about it sometime in the next week. That will officially be rolled. It already is officially rolled out now, with all the new resources that are done in Spanish, the new suite in Spanish, the advising team, etc. We'll be diving in 2 weeks, and I'll be talking to you more about that. But keep your eye out in the meantime on your email and other places, because I'll be going ahead as we're rolling that out and getting you some information on that. I don't know why this thing is lit up here. Something's going on. But anyways, so that being said, let's dive in. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about doing a proper investigative interview and about doing an actual close. So I'm going to get a link here and put it in here for you guys. It's not on our creditsuite.com/resources yet, but it will probably be up later tomorrow. And I'm going to go ahead in your chat and just type in this resource now. So since you're here with us now, you're going to get a chance to grab this exact same script that I'm going to be walking through and talking to you about several other things. So keep in mind, in step 4.1 to 4.2 and 4.3, we talk more about these things. Now, unfortunately, this script is not in the back office as of yet. I'm not sure why, and I will be going through and having this updated by our development team sometime soon, but I'll be getting it to them. I'm not sure when they'll make it live, so I wanted to make sure you have it. So 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3 give you a brief summary of what you need to know to do these 3 parts of the presentation, but they don't go as in depth, right? The purpose of these videos, for example, is 10 minutes to keep them short, so they're not going to go as in depth as what we're going to talk about today. Today I want to give it to you with updates, tell you everything we're doing now that's working really well, and be here to answer any questions you guys have as well. So if you have any questions as we go ahead and get them typed into the question box, and I'll make sure they're answered. So when it comes to doing a proper interview, like I've mentioned, it's really the most important aspect of doing anything. And the script that I'm giving you is our script. So it's going to say Credit Suite in it, and probably many times. So you're going to have to obviously remove this if you're using it for your company, because it's not intended for you guys to be, for it to be white label without our info. Otherwise, it will be in your back office, and I will get it in your back office where that's the case. So that being said, you know, keep in mind that you're going to have to remove Credit Suite's name from this script if you're going to use it for your team. But this is cool because you see, this is exactly what we use, guys. So you know that this is exactly what we're doing to have the same success we're doing on our end. Now, tonality and scripts have a very important reason. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that I'm not never have been a big fan of scripts. And then I went through Jordan Belfort's straight line training. And if you don't like Jordan Belfort, look, I don't blame you. He did, you know, there was a lot of crazy stuff that happened, and it's personified in movies and things like that. A little bit different than real life. We'll never know. But what I do know is his training is probably some of the best sales and closing training that I've ever went through. I went through it about 6 or 7 times. And at the time when I first went through it, I owned a credit repair company, and we'd never used a script, and we mapped out about a 2-page script to sell credit repair, of which I haven't been able to really locate since, but it was a phenomenal script. And this script was what all of our sales teams started using to close sales, and it was very, very, very effective. And what I realized is that with a written script, your sales team, you and your sales team, can focus on what's important, so you don't have to focus on the wording itself. You find out what works, you modify your script. You find out what doesn't, you modify your script. And in doing so, you're doing an effective, highly effective presentation right every single time. When you find things don't work, you remove them or change them. If you find things work, you add them. And this is what we do here. Our sales team doesn't follow scripts like robots, but they do use scripts in a lot of cases as their guide of what to say, to make sure they cover all the important parts, to make sure that they cover all the important questions. And this is very, very, very important, because what happens is things change. And as things change, if it's easy for us to add one line to a script and send everybody an updated script, then try to tell them, hey, this changed this week, do this next week, do this the following week. If we keep telling them to do a bunch of things differently, they might do what we tell them to do that week. But what we told them a month before to change, they probably have forgotten about already. So scripts make it easy for you to see what works, modify as you go, make enhancements, remove what doesn't work, add what does work, and you always know that you're doing exactly the same thing. This way, you know that your presentation is somewhat congruent, and so if your numbers go down, for example, you know it's not your presentation, it's typically congruent. And if you want to improve things and you modify the script a little, then you see improvement, then you know everybody's following suit. So it's very important for that reason. It's also important because you can focus on what matters most, which is tonality. You know, when we look at communication in general, and every study on this topic has said the same thing, that the vast majority of communication happens through comes through tonality. It's not the words you say, it's actual tonality that does it. It's interesting because I was just reading or listening to an audiobook this morning that touched on this exact same thing. And what it had, and it was really crazy study that speaks to this probably better than anything I had. What they found was that people that had Botox done had problems with a lack of empathy. And it was like astonishing. I mean, Botox and everything we've seen, hey, you know, it makes sure it removes the wrinkles and almost makes you smile. So it actually made people happier. But the problem was that it made them less empathetic. And when they did all these studies, psychological and brain scans, what they realized was that because people couldn't really frown as well, they couldn't mimic other people's facial expressions, that the lack of empathy or emotion was one of the things that went with it. That's pretty crazy to think about it, that somebody has Botox and has a lack of empathy as a result of that because of their inability to mimic other people's facial expressions. So guys, every study on this shows exactly the same thing, that tonality is one of the most important aspects. Body language is one of the most aspects of communication. The problem is, if you're not presenting with people face to face, tonality becomes the most important. It becomes like 70 to 80% of the communication value, not what you say. So this is why scripts are a good idea, because with scripts, as you can see here, by having bolding where they have an upbeat tone, then I'm telling them where they need to have proper tonality so they don't have to think about that. It's already mapped out. The words are mapped out. How they inflect, their inflection of their voice is already mapped out. Now, it's a good idea, and I don't take this step, but it is a good idea to even create something like an underline for a downbeat or for when you get quiet. And being quiet during a presentation is very effective because it gets people to listen up. It automatically makes people perk up. And you understand, we all understand why, right? Because if somebody's talking to you and all of a sudden they kind of get into a hushed tone, it's usually something pretty important. And so we are psychologically conditioned that when that happens, we kind of lean in a little and pay a little bit more attention. So realistically, I really should underline things on this as well, but I really make it easy for our team by just putting upbeats and tonality with bolding. So when you see this script and you see bold, it's an upbeat and tonality, and there's a lot of reasons that we do that. So I'm going to run through with you today these questions. I'm going to talk to you about all of them, so you could remove what you don't think is interesting. You can add stuff that you think is, and then we'll talk about the close as well, so we can come in and talk about looping and some things that I think are important for you to be able to close the sale. So first thing we do is, on the script, my name is Ty with Credit Suite. We go in upbeat on Suite because it automatically implies you should know who we are. If I call and go, hey, it's Ty with Credit Suite. On a downbeat, you're like, who's this? But if I say, hey, it's Ty with Credit Suite, it automatically implies that you should know who I am. It's Ty with Credit Suite. Like, don't you know who I am? And you'd be interesting. It's interesting with tonality, and I suggest you just try that one simple thing to see what I'm talking about when you're calling a prospective customer, to have an upbeat on the end of your business name instead of a downbeat. And that automatically implies they should know who you are. And it's amazing to listen to our sales team do this, and they'll sometimes not do it correctly. Hey, it's Ty with Credit Suite. Who's this? It's Ty with Credit Suite. And the minute they go upbeat on that second word, people are like, oh, okay. Even if they're not sure they even know who it is, they still automatically say okay while they're trying to process the information in their head, because the fact that it's an upbeat at the end of the name implies they should know who we are. You scheduled a free consultation with us for this time. You available to talk now? Yes, great. Okay. Well, how did you hear about us? So the very first thing that we do with anybody is we ask how they heard about us. And this is a very important question, because what we're trying to figure out is, do they know enough about us to even do a presentation? Now, I talked a little bit about this about 6 months ago at the end of November when I did a little bit, about an hour walkthrough of just interviewing questions. We didn't talk about closing them. We just talked a little bit about interviewing. But this is very, very important, because what we need to know is, should we even present to this person or not? I will tell you this one thing, and it's probably one of the most important lessons you'll ever learn, as it is the most important lesson I've ever learned in sales. Sales 101. We spend too much time talking to people that will never buy our products. Period. You and your sales team, if you have a sales team, spend too much time wasted on people that will not buy from you anyways. And the better you get at nicely telling those people goodbye, the more time you have to talk to actual real potential buyers. And what I've talked about with the selling of the finance suite before is that there's two reasons people primarily won't buy. One is the fact that they don't know, like, and trust you. You don't have enough credibility to them yet. That's why. on the brand new website that you guys all have access to be able to set up in your back office, we've now added this credibility page. I've talked about it for so long about how important it is that we went ahead on the new site, made sure that you have access to testimonial case studies and business credit results. This way, you have instant credibility. As a matter of fact, whenever we schedule an appointment with anybody, the one thing we send them is a link to our credibility and a quick walkthrough video of the finance suite, same one you have in your back office, so they can see about what we have to get an idea of who we are and what we have. And the second reason is so they know more about our credibility and know we're credible, so when we talk to them, it gets us over that hurdle. Second reason that somebody's not going to buy, and what you'll run into the majority of time, they don't have the money. So if they don't know much about you and they don't have the money, then stop. Don't bother presenting to them at all. It's a waste of your time. If somebody barely has $100 or $200 to their name, they're not going to spend thousands of dollars with you to buy anything. It's not going to happen. Okay, so, and I'll give you an example. I swear to you, this is a real example. I couldn't even say this I couldn't even make this up. We had somebody the other day that was talking about getting started, and we told them it was $4 or $490, or we told them it was $497 to get started, was what they were told. And they asked if they could put it on 2 credit cards. Now, this isn't uncommon. We have people that come in and think they're going to split the payment into 2 payments. But in this case, literally, I swear to you, the person was asking the question thinking that $497 was $4.97. They thought their monthly payments were $4.97, and they wanted to split that $4.97 up, part on their mother's card and part on their credit card, because they didn't even have $5 available on their own credit card. Now, I tell you this because think about if you don't ask the right questions and you're going through an entire sales presentation with that person. You waste 10, 15, 20 minutes with somebody that doesn't even have $5 to their name. So you've got to ask some qualifying questions to see, do they have the income? And do they know enough about you to know you have credibility to buy? Or if not, you got to get them the credibility. And if they don't have the money, well, then you have to find a nice way to get them out of that presentation so you're not wasting time on people that won't buy. So how do you hear about Credit Suite? How long have you been following? It's simple. We need to know if you know we're credible yet or not. If you just saw us on Facebook and all of a sudden you're talking to me, you haven't read our emails, you haven't opened our emails, you haven't seen our YouTube videos, you haven't seen our credibility page, then the truth is you're not going to buy. There's nothing we're going to say to you today to get you to buy, because you know what? You don't trust us enough. We have to build more credibility. So at this point, if they don't know much about us, our sales team is already exiting the phone call. We're already saying, hey, well, listen, what I want to do is this. I'm going to send you some more information about getting business credit, getting financing, offering both as a service, and some more information about our credibility. And then let's schedule a time right now where I can get back to you. I'll send you this email today. When will you get a chance to take a look at it? When can I call you back? And they literally schedule another appointment right here. They stop if the person does not know enough about us to make a credibility decision. Because why? We go through and do this entire presentation. They're not going to buy because they don't trust us. And then we send them credibility information. Then we try to get them on the phone for a week or 2 weeks. When we finally get them on the phone for a week or 2 weeks later, they don't remember anything about what we said a week or 2 weeks prior during the presentation. So why waste our presentation when we know we're not going to close the sale? We might as well only present to people we know we have a chance of closing. So again, how you ask this question is important. Do they know enough about you to trust you? And I mean, if this is your brother or your sister or a friend, probably so. If they just found you online some way, they've never even really looked at your website, don't know your credibility, any of those type of things, it makes no sense to present. My advice is to get off, give them a link to the website credibility page, give them a link to the Business Finance Suite video, the short video, okay, that's in your back office, and then schedule a follow-up call. So then they'll have enough information to know a little bit about what you have and know a little bit about your credibility, and you don't waste any time. Look at how early this is in the process. second sentence, and you're gone and talking to somebody new that you have a better chance of closing. If they heard about us, they know us, well, we move on. Awesome. So you probably know by now that we help business owners like you build credit for your EIN that's not linked to your SSN with no personal credit check, as well as get low-rate business loans. So even though they know who we are at this point, or we wouldn't be continuing, we're still reminding them of who we are, just in the rare case that they said that they've been following us for a while and they made it all up. We want to reiterate what it is we do. We help them build business credit, we help them get business loans, and later we talk about again as well, offering both as a service. Okay, so this, again, this wording of build credit for an EIN that's not linked to an SSN, very important. Okay, very important. Now, believe it or not, you'd think there's a bunch of other easier ways to say this, but the reason that we're partners is because I'm telling you, there's not. We've tested it. We've run ad after ad after ad trying to beat this statement in our control, and we've never to date beat it at all. When I hired Jen, our marketing manager, over a year ago, he thought this was crazy. I said, listen, man, I think it's crazy too. But what I know is this sentence works, and people enroll like gangbusters with it. My recommendation is try to beat it, and it became our control. And for the last year, he's tried to come up with other wording that beats it, and it doesn't work. People respond to this language of building credit for their EIN that's not linked to their social. The second thing we're doing is we're talking about with no personal credit check. This is a disarm right here. We're disarming them. When you talk to anybody and sell anybody anything, they are skeptical from the get-go, and they already have objections they're not even telling you about. So the easier and better you are at disarming potential objections they have early, the better chance you have of getting further into a presentation. 2 disarms. We're disarming them, letting them know we can help even if they have credit issues. We're disarming them if they also want to get business loans. And we're disarming them, letting them know that it's low-rate business loans. Actually, 3 disarms. So in one sentence, we're basically overcoming 3 objections, right? Because everybody's now getting hit with 30, 40, 50% revenue lending loans, and so everybody's concerned with interest rates. A lot of people might say, well, hey, man, I love that business credit, but I'm more interested in getting a business loan. Or they might think, well, I have bad personal credit. There's no way this person can help me. So we disarm 3 objections with 1 statement, which is exactly why we're going through this. This is what we do. But the hardest part of our program is qualifying to get in, because we only accept people who we know we can succeed and get credit. Okay, look. You might look at this a little differently, this qualifying to get in. But to be honest with you, this is absolutely a qualifying script. If people do not answer the right questions here, we will not even present and give them a chance to come in, period. Because we know they won't come in if we move forward. So we really are qualifying them. It's the whole purpose of an interview script, is to qualify and gather intelligence. So the hardest part is to get in. We only accept people we know can succeed and get credit. So again, what we're doing is overcoming an objection. I don't think this will work for me. There's all kinds of people that have this objection with just about anything they buy. It's one of the biggest internal objections I faced with selling credit repair. It's one of the biggest objections we face with business credit loans. I don't think it will work for me. So we're disarming that objection right now. We only bring people in who we know can succeed and actually get credit. Notice, we are not saying loans at this point. We are offering them business credit. We want to minimize our verbiage about loans and keep referencing credit as much as possible so they know what this is about and don't think that by coming in they're going to get some high limit loan or credit line. So tell me a bit about your business. Okay, so at this point, we're trying to basically get them to open up. The general population loves to talk about themselves, everybody, okay? And I've learned this a long time ago, that, you know, have you ever been in one of those conversations and you walk away and you go, man, that was an awesome conversation. Like, I just met that guy or gal and they were awesome to talk to. If you really think about it, the reason the conversation was probably so good is they just let you talk and they just listened. And we love to talk. We love to talk about ourselves and what we're passionate about and what we love and things that make us happy, okay? But the best conversation is when you just shut up and listen, when you're actually letting them talk. When one of the easiest ways to get somebody to open up that's a business owner is to ask them about their business. Tell me about your business. What is it about? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? Now, this one question, they're probably going to tell you how long it's been open. They're probably going to give you an idea of what it is that they sell. So you're already getting an idea of how you're going to sell the finance suite. Is this somebody that owns a credit repair company that you're talking to that has a need for Staples credit cards and Office Depot credit cards, or is this a truck driver that has a need for fleet credit and gas credit cards? Remember what we talked about last week. You're going to present differently based on each one of those scenarios. So this is the gathering intelligence in a part of the script. You've got to know as much about the business as you possibly can. The more you know, the more you can tailor your presentation when you get in there and actually start presenting. Wow, sounds interesting. So what type of monthly revenue are you generating right now? First income qualifying question. We know now that they know enough about us to make a decision, or we wouldn't even be continuing. We asked that early on. Now what we're doing, because it's pretty intrusive to ask the revenue or credit somebody has. So some rapport has to be built before we get to that step. So the reason we're not asking this disqualifying question early on is because we want to tell them a little bit about what we do. We want to talk to them about how we know it's going to work. We want to disarm some of their objections as we've done here. Then we want to open them up and get them talking about their business. And then we want to come in and ask a couple of the tougher questions, like what type of monthly revenue. Now at this point, some trust is already built, some rapport is already built, and we can come in and ask that kind of question. And the reason we're asking it is because is this as a startup, or is this somebody that's actually generating $10,000 a month in revenue now? If they are, well, then there's a good possibility that we already know we have somebody on the line that can get a business loan as well as business credit. But if they say they're just getting started, then we already have our first red flag that there's a good possibility that they may not have the money to pay us for the product to begin with. So what are some of the biggest problems you're dealing with right now? What's the biggest issues or problems you're dealing with now? Okay, and we do it two ways. What are the biggest issues or problems? Because we found if we say, what are the biggest issues you're dealing with now, or we'd say, what are the biggest problems you're dealing with now, they somehow need clarification. But when we say it both ways, hey, what are some of the biggest issues or problems you're dealing with now, then they, in your business, they seem to understand. And they tell us what their problem or issue is. Now, guys, in life, there's few problems I've ever seen in business that can't be overcome by more money. And that's the whole reason we're getting to this. What problem are we trying to solve? Remember, no matter what you sell, no matter what it is, with the bigger problem you can solve, the easier it is for you to be successful. So what we're trying to figure out here is what problem is this person really dealing with? What problem is it that they're having? Do they not have enough money to market? Do they only have one truck on the road and they need to get two? Do they not have enough money to get the business off the ground initially? What problem is it that they're actually dealing with? Because the more we can understand their problem, the more we can relate back to that problem during the presentation as we're actually moving forward, presenting, and closing. So for example, if somebody says, and I'll give you a real world example, if somebody says, look, my business, I've got the business coming in the door, but I only have one tow truck on the road. And I can't afford the money to get a second tow truck on the road, so I can't grow and scale the business unless I get a second tow truck. Okay, well, I have a lot of insight right now, and if it were me, even though it's not here on the script, the next thing I would ask is, well, how much money will that make you if you put a second truck on the road? Because now they are giving me literally the silver bullet to close this deal. I mean, they are giving me the one thing I need to close the sale, because if they say, well, look, if I get that other truck on the road, then I'm able to make an extra 20 grand a month. So you're able to make an extra $240,000, almost $250,000 a year with another truck on the road? Yes, I am. Guys, it's much easier at closing to overcome a price objection when I say, whoa, 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 are you telling me you don't want to spend the $2,500 to make $250,000 this year? By putting that in the truck on the road, you're going to make 10 times as much next month as what you actually need to, or as what you're actually paying here. So isn't that an investment? It's easier to close the sale if I know that kind of information. So when I'm saying, what's the biggest problem you're having? Well, I'm going to dive in and get as much information on that as possible. What's it going to look like if that was solved? How much more money would that mean to you? Because when I understand by solving their problem with money, which is what we're going to help them do, how much more that means to them monetary-wise, well then, guys, it's much easier to close that sale, bottom line. So how are things going to look for you once you get the credit to grow, once you solve the problem? So we figured out what the problem is. We figured out what their pain point is. Okay, and I've said this all the time. It's easier to sell painkillers than it is to sell vitamins. I feel for anybody that sells anything preventive, because you know why? We usually are in a panic mode and we'll pay all kinds of money to solve a problem, but we rarely think about problems when we're actually before they occur. And this has occurred to me. This is why I got this thing running in my background right now. It's called carbonite, right? I thought about this on my walk the other day. I thought, you know, going on vacation, I need to take my portable hard drive. Man, what would happen if I lost that hard drive? Somebody broke in our RV and stole my briefcase. I mean, I'm thinking, oh man, I would be done. I would be in serious problems. And I've had my computer crash before. There's ransomware out there. Why don't I have my stuff backed up? So boom, Carbonite, 59 bucks a year. They back up my entire computer so that one thing can never happen. Most people don't do this. Most people are paying ransomware or paying ransom to get their files back. They're dealing with that. Most people will spend all kinds of money to solve a problem that's already occurred instead of pay the money to prevent. And by the way, there's a reason Carbonite is only $59 a year, and that's the reason. If Carbonite's service was to help you get back all of your files that had been deleted or taken through ransomware, then they could charge $590 and people would pay it all day long. Think about that. Would you not come up for 600 bucks to get back everything you lost on your computer? But how much would you spend to protect it? See, that is the difference. Is most people, again, it's easier to solve a problem and you're going to have more success solving a problem than trying to prevent a problem. So what we're doing here in this script is one, what is the problem they're dealing with? And two, future pacing. What's their life going to look like once we solve that actual problem? Okay, how's it going to look? Now we have them future pacing. Now we have them thinking, well, this guy might be the guy that can help me solve my problem. Well, if I had that other truck on the road, well, then I would, you know, I'd make an extra $250,000 a year. Okay, now this is where I get into the 5 whys. Well, why does it matter to you? You know, if you make an extra $250,000 a year, well, man, if I make an extra $250,000 a year, then, you know, 20% of that, or about 50 grand, is net in the bank to my company. Well, what are you going to do with that 50 grand? I mean, why does that matter if you have an extra 50 grand in the bank? Well, if I had an extra 50 grand, then what I would probably do with it is I would, you know, get a new car because I've been needing a new car, and I'd also take a vacation because I don't spend enough time with my family. Well, why would you want to take a vacation? I mean, these are the 5 whys. And if you ask somebody the 5 whys, you really get drilled down to what their why truly is. And I've talked about this before, that I'm part of a mastermind, and my buddy Tyson Franklin that I met at this mastermind, really cool Australian dude, was at this mastermind and went through this exercise the first time, where, you know, he said something, and we started to, and the person that hosted, Dave Freeze, my mentor, started to ask him about his why. And once he really drilled down, he said, you know, it really just comes down to spending time with my family. And he burst out into tears and had to leave the room. It was a changing moment in his life, because he really, for the first time ever, realize what his true why was. And we all do that, guys. We all lie to ourselves without knowing of why we're doing what we're doing. And if you ask yourself those 5 why questions, and you're typically going to get to a much deeper level and understand things about yourself you don't even know. And that's what you can really do here as well. Drill down. Well, why does that $250,000 a year even matter? You know, why does that matter? Well, it matters because if I did that, I'm going to have this much in profit. Well, why does that matter? Well, because with this, I'm going to be able to grow the business. Well, why does that matter? Well, because then I'm going to have something to hand down to my son. Well, why does that matter? Because you know what? My dad never did that for me, and I had a real struggle, and I never want my kid to have that same struggle. You really get to their why, and in a lot of cases, it's really an emotional thing because they don't even know what their own why is. Sounds like you have a bright future ahead. We're just glad to be part of it because we know that most businesses fail due to lack of access to credit and capital. So we're instantly telling them, wow, we like your business. It sounds like it's pretty awesome what you're doing, and we're glad to hear that you're having this kind of success and that your business, this is what your business is going to look like as it grows, because let's be honest, most companies don't make it because they don't have the money to do it. So it's kind of like an emotional roller coaster. We take them down to this low of talking about their pain. We take them up to this high of what their life's going to look like when the pain is relieved, and then we kind of drop them down a little bit and say, look, you're not going to get that pain relieved without money. I mean, that's what it all comes back to. And so now we've brought all this back to the fact that, hey, look, if you have money, you're going to be able to have the things you want to have. And if you don't have the money to grow the business, you're going to be in pain. And that's ultimately this full circle that we're bringing them back to. How much money have you set aside monthly to grow your business and make your dream a reality? Second income qualifying question. We already know how much revenue they have. And if they're a startup or in a newer phase of the business, this is more relative to them. Well, how much money have you set aside to grow your business and make your dream a reality? We're not asking them how much money they have to pay us. How much money would you pay for a business credit solution? What we're saying is, look, you're planning on growing your business. How much money have you set aside monthly to grow the business? This is an important question, because if you're talking to somebody that says, I've got $100 a month set aside, bye-bye. You're not going to buy from you. You're going to go forward and do a full presentation and attempt to close somebody that has $100 a month set aside. Wouldn't it help you to know before you even do a presentation that all they have is $100 set aside? Or maybe the person comes in and says, look, I got $2,000 a month set aside to grow the business. Okay. Isn't it going to be easier to close the sale when they say, look, that's pretty rich for me? What do you mean? You got $2,000 a month set aside to grow the business. I'm asking you for $1,000 up front, $500 a month after that. You still have $1,500 left over, and I'm going to take your 500 and multiply it 10x to make, or 100x to make it 50 grand or more. So it's easier to close the sale when you know they have money set aside to grow the business, and it's easier to walk away from a presentation before it even begins if you know it's only $100. And again, no reason for them to lie to you here at all. If you look at this line of questioning, it's pretty freaking brilliant. Because honestly, there's no reason that they would tell you something here. It's not like you get to the end and say, how much money do you have to pay for this? You're asking them so early and in a way that they're never even going to link the two together, that you're asking the question to see if they have enough money to pay you for the product. So they're going to shoot you pretty honest about, hey, this is how much money I have to set aside to grow the business, or how much money they think they have set aside, and then you're going to be able to determine if you should do a presentation or not. How's your personal and business credit quality now? The reason we're asking this question, what we really care about is how their personal credit is. Honestly, it's how we really care. But the problem is, if we just hit them with how's your personal credit, then it could be too intrusive. There's a possibility it could be. So let's go ahead and kill two birds with one stone. What we're going to do is say, how's your personal credit? And here's why. Because if they say, well, it's not so good, or anything other than great, well, then that tells us two things. First of all, they're not going to qualify for unsecured business financing. If they have great credit, well, then we already know we can get them another funding program, or one funding program, even if they don't have revenue. So we already determined if they can qualify for two core funding programs. What's their revenue and what's their credit like? If they say that they don't have good credit, then they have much lower limit revolving accounts, don't they? So think about it like this. If you have somebody that's just getting started and doesn't have revenue yet, and their credit's not good, do you think that person has a bunch of money set aside? Probably not. Because the reality is that the credit's not good because they're not paying their bills, typically. And secondly, they don't have high revolving credit card limits because their credit's not good. And they also aren't producing money for their business. And you already know by now, probably if they're working another job or this is their primary job. So logic alone and reasoning can tell you right now at this point, if you're dealing with somebody that probably has a shot to pay you or probably doesn't have a shot to pay you. And at that point, you can dump this off at any time and say, look, it sounds like you're a good fit for business credit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you some information over about credit, with our credibility, and, with a link to take a walk through what we have, and I'll follow up. And again, you're probably going to follow up, but you're not going to diligently follow up if you don't think that you've really got a buyer here. But at this point, again, your best buyer is somebody that's already got an established business with revenue or has better credit because they have higher limit credit cards to pay you. If they don't, well then, it probably makes sense for you to abandon before you even bother to present. Now, if they do have good personal credit, well, you know what? It's not bad to throw in another question here and say, you know what? We've got a program that could get you money, even as a startup, that is strictly based on personal credit. And I can tell you a little bit more about that as we go. It's based on how high your credit limit accounts are now. What's the highest credit limit account you have now? And if they tell you 5 grand, 10 grand, what you said just makes sense. Well, that tells you two things. And again, it's okay to even ask a second question then and say, well, part of this is you have to have utilization below 40% of your limits. So are your balances less than 40% of your limits? Because guys, that's a true statement. Unsecured business financing is based on how much they get is based on the limits that they have, and they need to have utilization less than 40%. So we're talking to them about a real funding product that they may qualify for, and we're also qualifying them to buy. If they tell me they have $10,000 limit credit cards and that they're only at 30% utilization, I'm pretty good with math. That means you got $7,000 available on one credit card. I got a buyer here. If I do my presentation and close properly, this person already now knows me enough to move forward in this point in the presentation, and I now have indicators that they have enough money to be able to actually move forward, because I know they have credit card accounts with limits and balances that have enough of a difference for them to have enough money to pay me. So I'm getting all kinds of intelligence here. I know the problem that they're solving, what their life's going to look like with the problem solved, what their why is. Do they have the revenue coming in to be able to pay for this? Do they have the credit and the credit limits set aside to pay for this? I'm also asking this question because I want them to acknowledge that they don't have business credit. Period. I want them to acknowledge that they don't have any business credit now, so they are the first one that acknowledges that that could be a problem. So that's why this question is so important. Simple question, right? Look at that. How amazing is it? That's what, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 words? And how much information can we get out of a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 word question? All kinds of information. How is your personal and business credit quality now? It's going to tell us if they can possibly qualify for unsecured financing. It's going to tell us if they possibly have credit limits and enough credit to be able to buy from us. It's going to get them to acknowledge that they probably don't have well enough established business credit, all in one simple question. No worries. And again, we're already coming into this anticipating they don't have business credit and their personal credit's probably not good. Could be wrong. And if we are, then we're not going to say no worries. But more than likely, they're not going to say, I have excellent business credit and personal credit. So no worries is going to segue nicely whether they have don't have either of these or only have one. No worries will help you build your business credit from scratch regardless of personal credit quality. Beautiful. So now we've come in and said, don't worry. We're going to help you get credit, and your personal credit's not even going to matter. We overcame that objection a second time and let them know it's okay. You know, we're not people that are going to judge you because of this. A lot of people would stop this conversation because you don't have good credit, which means you're not going to get a bank loan. Not us. We still want to talk. We've got a program that'll work just fine for you regardless of this, if the case is that they don't have both of these good, which is probably 9.5 out of 10 people you'll talk to. Do you know the average business owner will take about 3 to 5 years to build their business credit? No, I didn't know that. Yep, they sure will. But don't worry, with our program, you can start to get vendor credit immediately and major revolving store credit shortly thereafter. Very important reason for this. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see our partners make, is that people come and ask you, how long will it take me to get credit? And I was at the credit boot camp weeks ago, and I had this 30-minute rant with a group of partners that was talking about buying trade lines. And I said, why would you buy trade lines? You know, we had this whole discussion about, you're not going to fool the credit bureaus. They know what you're doing. The business reporting agencies will red flag and shut down your profile. How would you feel if you bought 5 trade lines 3 years from now, you built all kinds of legitimate credit on top of it, and DMV shut you down because 3 years previous you bought a bunch of junk trade lines? And so I'd be upset. Of course you'd be upset. Then why build it the non-legitimate way? Well, my customers are in a hurry to get money. Aren't we all? But can they get money right now? Do they have good credit, cash flow, or collateral? No, they don't qualify. They're not going to qualify for anybody else for money. You have the best solution. So if it's going to take them 3, 4, 5 months to get actual cash credit, they're going to have to deal with it. You shouldn't shortcut their process because they're impatient and they want money right away. The fact that they're impatient is probably why they have no cash flow credit or collateral right now. Because of that mentality, your job is to get them out of it. How are you presenting this to them was my question. Well, I tell them it's going to take them about 12 months to go through this. So somebody asks you how long and you tell them 12 months? Yes, well, that's your problem. Then when people ask me how long it takes them to build business credit, my answer is the same, immediately. And it takes them back. They immediately take a step back. I say, oh, you can get vendor credit immediately. You're going to get vendor credit to buy stuff you're probably already buying now and get it on terms of net 30, net 60 days right away. And once that reports, you're then going to start to get high limit store credit card accounts at Amazon, Dell, and all these other places. And once that reports, you're going to be getting Visa, MasterCard credit. So it's just like anything else. It's not how long will it take. How long did it take you to build your consumer credit? And they say, well, I don't know. I'm still working on it. Exactly. Business credit's no different. You never stop this process. You just continue to get more credit and higher limits as you go. So the real question is that, how long will it take you to get credit? Well, immediately. You're going to start getting credit immediately, and then from there on, you're going to continue to grow it to get more and more and more credit. So I'm going ahead and I'm disarming that objection now. With our program, you can start to get vendor credit immediately and major revolving store credit shortly thereafter. First of all, guys, most people don't even know what vendor credit is, okay? But I'm telling them a true statement, and at the same time, I'm disarming an objection of this is going to take me a long time by telling them, no, you're going to get this credit immediately. You're going to get vendor credit immediately. They're thinking, well, I don't know what vendor credit is. That sounds awesome to me. I'm going to get money right away. Now, remember, we're going to show them what vendor credit is during the actual presentation. It's not like we're going to try to close. This is just the interview. So we're going to show them what vendor credit is, the exact kind of credit they get, and it's easier for us to get them into a presentation. Yeah, you're going to get vendor credit right away. Okay, do you want me to show you the kind of credit you can actually get? Yeah, I do. Okay, boom, we're into a presentation. So it sets us up for a presentation when we tell them we want to show them the actual credit they can get, and it also tells them and disarms this huge objection that this is going to take a long period of time. What is it exactly you're hoping we can help with? Oh, wow, what an awesome question. What is it you actually want us to do for you? What is it you actually think we can do for you? I have a coaching intake form because people want to do one-on-one sessions with me. And I have the same question. Here's my questions. It says, what is the biggest problem that you're facing right now? My next question is, what do you think will help solve that problem? It's amazing when I read coaching forums where people say, this is the problem I have, and here's how I would solve it. Well, you don't need me. You just literally solved your own problem. And that's exactly why I do it, because it takes somebody out of a problem mindset and starts putting them into a solution mindset, right? And that's exactly how people are. And it's interesting because my wife and I had this problem the other day with booking something for Disney. We booked for months something for my daughter to go on this ride. My wife booked another park the same day, and they removed it. It was crazy. And I was on the phone with a customer service lady, and what she said was, hey, listen, I can't do anything to help you. I said, let me talk to your supervisor. She said, they're going to tell you the same thing. I said, you know what? I said, in my life, I've had hundreds of people tell me the same thing, and 3 out of 4 times, that person on the other end solves my problem. And here's why. You're in a problem mindset right now, not a solution mindset. And that's okay. No big deal. Move on to somebody else and talk to them about how you can't help solve their problem. What I need is somebody that thinks in a way where they're anxious and excited to help solve problems. You're not that person. No harm, no foul. I need to speak with somebody else. That didn't have to be a supervisor. I just want to speak with somebody else. Next person got on the phone, solved the problem. So it's about solutions, not speaking about the problem. So what is it exactly you're hoping we can help with? They're going to tell you right up front what their expectation is, which is important. Based on everything you just told me, you're a perfect fit for the business credit program. Let me tell you a little bit more about how it works. So now at this point, guys, you're going into the actual presentation. You're going to tell them about what you need to tell them following one of the scripts in your back office, or you are then going to go get into the next part, which is actually showing them the presentation. Now, if I'm showing it to them, then I'm going to say, hey, look, based on everything you just told me, the Finance Suite's you're a perfect fit for our business credit program. But what I'd like to do, instead of telling you more about it, is show you the actual credit and money you can get right now. Do you have 10 minutes, 15 minutes for me to actually show you the money you can get right now? Yeah, I do. Okay, great. You in front of a computer? Yes. Okay. I'm going to email you over a link from Join Me. All you have to do is click the link. You'll be looking at my screen, and we'll be able to move forward from there. And then you're into a real walkthrough presentation. Now, the next thing you're going to do after that presentation is you're going to come in and start talking about closing. So once we get into closing, and again, the presentation part we talked about last week, now that you know we can quickly help you build business credit, let me ask you a question. Okay, if you have 2 identical businesses selling the same product at the same price in the same small town, one of them had the foresight to build a business credit profile and one didn't, which one would be worth in the event that they should ever sell? And they're obviously going to say, well, the one with business credit. Now, remember, at this point, they've already seen the presentation. They've already seen what we could do. They've already started to think about high-limit credit accounts on their credit report. And I say, why? Okay, well, which bad business would you rather own? Okay, what would you be willing to invest in that business, and how much more do you think it would be worth? Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Is that a loaded question? We are literally telling them to value what we have. That is what we are saying to them. Ultimately, hey, look, two businesses. One has everything I just showed you, established business credit, high limit accounts. Other one, exact same business, doesn't have it. Which one's worth more? The one with business credit. Of course it is. Why? Because they've got all this credit available that I can immediately get access to. They're selling themselves on benefit. Okay, not me. I'm letting them sell themselves at this point. And then I'm coming back in and saying, okay, well, how much more would that business be worth? Guys, you know how much easier it is for me to extract money from somebody that tells me that that business is worth $100,000 more, $1 million more? You know how easy it is to get $2,500 out of somebody that just told you that their business would be worth $100,000 to $1 million more when it has business credit? Much easier. They're selling themselves on the value. They're selling themselves on their why. Okay, that's exactly why we're going into this, obviously. Because having business credit helps you get the credit you need to grow and makes your business extremely valuable as well. But let me ask, are you getting business credit for your company only, or are you interested in offering it as a service? Obviously, that has to do with us, not with you guys, right? Getting started with our program is super easy. I just need to get a little information from you to process your order, and then you'll immediately get your Finance Suite login credentials to start getting credit. So I'm telling them they're immediately going to get access. I'm telling them it's easy to get started, and this is my first real attempt to close. And our coaching team will reach out to help you get started, and as you continue to build your business credit, disarming the objection that they're going to have to do this on their own. They're afraid it might not work for them. They don't know where to get started. These two sentences, I've disarmed those objections before they even come up. Remember, guys, people rarely tell you objections. I do. I think it freaks salespeople out because I am blatantly honest. And when they tell me, say, what do you think? I say, like, oh, here's what I think. I'm not going to buy it. Here's why. I mean, I'm very upfront with my objections because I respect that from a sales perspective. Most people aren't like it. They will never tell you why they won't buy. And so your job is to disarm the objections before they ever come up. That's what we did in the interview. That's what we're doing in the close. We understand what their objections are going to be. We're disarming them. We understand they might have a problem with cost. So what we're doing is helping them instill the value themselves, which is pretty smart if you think about it. We're coming in and we're asking them basically why they would value a business more that has business credit than one that doesn't. They're showing and talking about their own benefit. Okay, so now we're coming in and saying it's easy. You get a little bit of information and it's already yours. You get immediate access. Our coaches are going to call and help you. We're just boom, 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 disarming objections, disarming objections, disarming objections before they ever even come up. We have investment programs as high as $6,000. Okay, so this is called price anchoring. Very important. One of the most important things you should ever know when you sell anything. My wife got me to buy an RV doing exactly the same thing, which is why never teach your spouse what I'm teaching you today, or you will end up buying things that you never should buy. Just a little insight. So this is price anchoring. We're hitting them with a high price, so the next price that follows seems like it's very, very low. We all want things that we can't have. So when I tell somebody it's $6,000, they're immediately going, holy crap, I don't know if I can spend $6,000. I don't know if I can afford it. This is all going on in their mind. They are already trying to figure out, this is something I want, but I don't know how I'm going to make this happen. And then we bring them down. You can get started with only X amount, 7 payments of $497, or get a discount if you start with 1 payment of $2,500. Okay. For you, I'd recommend our core program. You know, you can get started with this and this. So now what we've done is we've anchored a high price. Every psychological study on this topic says it's very effective. We've anchored a high price in their mind, and now we're walking them down to something they could probably more reasonably afford. And now all of a sudden they're saying, $24.95, I can do that. I could definitely do that. So now we took them from, oh my gosh, $6,000, I want this, but I can't afford $6,000. What I was doing, $24.95, I could do that. Now all of a sudden, it's easier for them to justify it because of this price agree. Which option works better for you? One pay or installments. This is called menu closing, and I highly recommend it. Whenever you give people I always close this way. I believe in it so much. Give people a choice. Let them choose which one they want. And it's an easy way to ask somebody to buy, right? Which one works better for you, one pay or monthly? And based on their response, you're going to know immediately where their mindset is, and they don't feel like they're getting hard closed. They feel like they're choosing an option, and they're going to come to you and go, well, hey, look, the one pay is a little steep. And you know what we say to people? Well, then go with the monthly. Go with the monthly, and if you pay the difference of the monthly and the one pay within the next 30 days, then you know what? You'll get the discount. So what we're saying to them is, hey, look, you're going to pay more if you pay monthly, but if you pay the difference off within the first month, well, then you know what? You're going to get the one pay price anyways. And people love that. They eat it up. They're like, that's awesome. So I'm going to get the difference if I can pay it off. I think I could pay it off within a month. Well, then get the benefit. Take the monthly installments and get the benefit of paying the whole thing off in 30 days. And let me tell you something, guys. Please hear me on this. You know what people do? They pay it off. We call them and then we say to them before 30 days, because what we've realized is that there's one big point where people drop off in our world, and it's at that second payment. There's the highest percentage of dropout we have is people that make that second payment. And if we get them past that second payment, our retention is very high. Getting them past that second payment is our goal. And that's why we do so many things, and I suggest you do the same thing month one with your customers to keep them in past that second payment. So one of the things we do, which is insane, to keep people from falling out, usually because of affordability, we call them in 3.5 weeks, and we talk to them again about waiving all the finance charges if they can pay the difference of what they owe right now. And it works like flipping gangbusters. So many people come up in front, the extra $1,000, the extra $1,500, the extra $2,000. It's crazy. We try to solve a problem of people dropping out because they don't have money. We hit them up for 4 or 5 times what their payment would be in one payment, and they bite. So I can't tell you why it works. There's all kinds of studies on it that probably explain it, but I can tell you it does. So don't just say that as a place to close your sale. Call them in 3.5 weeks before that next monthly payment is due. Offer them the no interest option. I'm going to waive $1,000 if you pay the extra $2,000 right now, the extra $1,500 right now. You'd be blown away at how many people do it because they love it. At this point, they've talked to the advisors a bunch of times. They've went through the system. They know it works. They're happy. The objections they had initially are gone, and your chances of getting that money are very, very, very good. Okay. If they don't choose one of the options, then now they're going to give you some kind of objection, right? Well, I don't know. Here's why. Whatever their objection is. Look, this is a perfect fit for you. So what's holding you back from getting you started? What part of this don't you think is perfect fit where you need to think it over, if they need to think it over? Are you worried about your potential results, or is it something I've forgotten to cover? Seriously, please level with me. Could it be money? I mean, please, I'll work out because I'll work with you on a plan that's affordable. What is affordable for you monthly? So again, a bunch of stuff you might not want to go simultaneously, boom, 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 boom. But what we're trying to do here is there's some kind of objections we haven't covered, right? They either don't think it's a perfect fit, or maybe I haven't given them enough information, okay? Or maybe they lied about what they could afford. So I'm trying to dig a little here to figure out maybe why they don't really buy, which is why I'm covering this. Now again, if they're coming in and giving you more objections, then this is where we do looping. I'm not going to read you all the loops, but I'll give you an idea of how looping works. So Jordan Belfort taught looping, and I really believe in this quite a bit, where he said in order for somebody to buy at any given moment in time, they have to believe a 10 for you, a 10 for your company, and a 10 for your product. And since they might not tell you what their objection really is, then they either have issues with you, the product, or you, the product, or your company, and they're not going to tell you, so you have to cover a benefit, you have to get them to a 10 in all three, because they're not going to tell you which one it is. So what we're going to do is come in here, they've got objections, we haven't been able to overcome them yet, and we're going to go back for another attempt to close. Does this idea of getting access to high limit business credit accounts regardless of your personal credit make sense to you? I mean, do you like the general idea? Yeah, of course I do. I think it's great. I think it works great for my business. Well, let me say this. The Finance Suite can not only help you get money when no other option can, because at this point we know they can't get a loan, okay, but you're also saving over $2,000 from doing this yourself, because your DUNS number set up, your 411 listing, and your Experience Smart Business Access are all included as part of the system. So you can basically work with our team for the same investment as doing this on your own. And you're getting this from us, a highly reputable company. You can look and easily see that we have a perfect reputation with all consumer reporting agencies and the Secretary of State. Okay, always put Secretary of State, right? Because nobody ever has like complaints with the Secretary of State, and it sounds so official. Okay, and an A rating with the BBB. Maybe you don't. Insert your credibility here. Going with you're credible with the Secretary of State is a win because everybody is. Okay, and you can add whatever else you have here. And I'll also still be available for you when you enroll. Don't get me wrong, our advising team does a phenomenal job, but my personal success relies on having success and you having success and being happy, so I really want to ensure you're successful with getting the credit. Okay, then when you're swimming in credit and growing your business, I know you're going to want to tell your friends and family and refer me. I can get you set up today. Okay, so what we're done here, now think about what we've done. Okay, we've come in and we talked about product. The finance suite does this for you. We talked about the actual company, highly reputable company. Here's 2-3 bullets of why our company is reputable. We come back and we talk about me personally, why I care. I need referrals, so that's why I care. And then we come back for another attempt to close. I can get you set up today with full access to your own finance suite. You can then start getting approved and have access to credit within days. I can get you started right now. It's just a matter of a little basic info to complete your enrollment. You said one payment or installments work better, so let's get started. Sound fair enough. Another attempt to close. This is called looping. And still, again, benefits that about yourself and your company and the product because you don't know where their objection lies, and then come back, attempt to close again. Okay, doesn't work, loop 2. Doesn't work, loop 3. Okay, and so on and so on. And they're all pretty similar. So mention objection in this answer. I answer this objection with the loop. I hear what you're saying, but let me say this. If you had access to our finance suite for 6 months now, and you were approved for 50 grand already, you probably wouldn't hesitate to get started. Am I right? Yeah, well, yeah, you are. Okay, well, obviously. But you really don't know me. So I don't have the luxury of a track record with you. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I've dedicated my life to helping clients like you get access to cash and credit and capital needed to grow their business, even when the banks say no. I deeply want to see you access the money you need to take your company to the next level. I really want to be part in making that happen. Okay, and as far as my company goes, we have more access to business cash and capital than any other company because we deal with all types of financing where most sources only deal with one type. And we're the only source you'll find that offers both business credit and loans, helping you get more money. And your business finance suite's constantly updated with all the new and best sources of cash, credit, and capital. Okay, so now we've hit all 3, right? We talked about me, we talked about my company, we talked about the product. Now let's go back in for another attempt to close. So when new financing opportunities open up, okay, that's it. I can get just a little info from you now, and you can have full access to your suite within the hour. Sound fair enough? Same thing. I'm not going to read loop 3 because we are. I will. Why not? We got a lot of time. Loop 3. I understand exactly what you're saying. Remember, this is the only system in the world where we can help you get business credit regardless of personal credit, help you qualify for financing to grow and qualify. It's the only solution that integrates with Experience Smart Business. That shows how truly credible the finance suite really is. My company's been open for 5 years with no consumer complaints, but tons of consumer praise about how much money and credit we have helped them attain. We ranked 5 stars out of 5 with Trustpilot, the leading online review site. And when you start with your first installment, you can get full access to your finance suite now. Get access to business credit. Pay over time. This shows how perfect I know this will be for you, as there's no way I would let you pay over several months unless I knew this option would be a perfect fit. Even if you can't afford the whatever amount monthly, we'll work with you. Let me know what's affordable, and within an hour you could be on your way to accessing more credit than you've ever had access to before. What payment works best for you? So that's what looping is. Now you're going to enter your own here. Maybe you're not with Trustpilot, so enter your own credibility. You got a perfect reputation with the Secretary of State. You've never had an online complaint from any of your customers. You've got an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. You've never had a complaint with the Better Business Bureau in the lifetime of your company. I don't care if the Better Business Bureau will give you an F. You can still use that. I've never had a complaint in the lifetime of my company with the BBB. Okay, so there's all kinds of credibility you could use, but looping is all about a 10 for you, a 10 for your company, a 10 for the product. It's all about not understanding what their objection really is, or you would already overcome it, trying to guess by making sure they know stuff about you that maybe you didn't really talk a lot about, stuff about the company, stuff about the product that they don't really know a lot about, instilling a 10, level of 10 in confidence with all 3, and coming back at an attempt to close. If they don't close at this point, then not a whole lot you could do. But if you've got somebody, you've done this process as I've walked through, you made sure they had money, you made sure they know that you're credible, you did a real physical walkthrough and showed them of the actual finance suite, you went through these kind of closing objections to come through and actually close or actually get to a point where you can close the sale and overcome these objections. You've done everything you can do. And then some people just won't close. But guys, if you do this, you're going to absolutely close the majority of people you can. And I think you've seen along the way why, right? We've talked about their pain. We've talked about life relieving their pain. We've helped them get to really what their why is. We overcame all kinds of objections during the interview and during the close. We gathered enough ammunition during the interview to really relate the finance suite benefits to them on a personal level because they gave us so much ammunition. At this point, they've seen it. They love it. Okay, we've gone through. They've already themselves said that they would choose a company that has business credit over one that doesn't. They've already said that it's worth a ton more money. They've given you all the ammunition to close the sale. Well, look, I don't know if I can afford $1,000 a month. Well, you just said you had $2,000 set aside to start your business. So then let me do this. We'll do $1,000 up front or $1,500 up front, and then we'll do payments of $500 thereafter. You know, the bottom line is they've given you the ammunition at this point that you need to close the sale. So I'm going to wrap this up. I'm a little bit over the 4 o'clock mark. I'm going to open this up to any questions you guys have. Any questions you have, let's go ahead and get them typed in. I wanted to get it addressed. If you put this together with what we talked about last week, you literally have everything you need to have one of the best, most powerful presentations you probably have ever done. You don't have to use it all. You want to cut interview questions out, cut them out. You want to cut out part of the close, cut it out. This is all stuff that we found to be effective, and not to say you have to use it all. I'm a firm believer that you better have scripts that have more information you need that you can make smaller than not enough information where you're trying to come up with ways to make them longer. So now you know exactly how to do a winning presentation, how to do a good interview, when to get people off the phone when you shouldn't be doing a presentation, and how to close the people in the end when you go through the whole process because it looks like they will qualify. And if you follow this, you're going to be very successful. It's just a matter of now of getting leads. And that's what I always say, guys. Look, it doesn't matter what you sell. It comes down to getting leads and closing leads. No matter, my sales team will tell you, so oh, if you went to them and say, what does Ty say about getting leads and closing leads? They'd be like, oh man, don't get him started. Because that's what I always say. It's real simple to sell anything in life. You have to get leads, you have to close leads. You have to master those two things. And if you break it down into those two things, the only things you need to do, then it's easier for you to be successful. You either have enough leads right now to do presentations and closes for, or you don't. If you don't, you need to focus on marketing and get out there and look at some of the webinars we've done even the last week on the best ways to get out there and market that really cost little to no money at all. And to work on getting leads in. As you start to get leads, you focus on the close. Luckily, we've given you everything you need here with the script, the presentation, all of it, so you can go through it. If you execute this way, you'll be successful. It's just a matter of getting used to it. You can only get used to it when you do more presentations. You can only do more presentations if you get more leads. So you master those two aspects, then you've got a ton of success. And remember, with this, in a lot of cases, you're talking about margins of about $2,000 per sale. So it doesn't take a lot of these sales to make life-changing money for a lot of you listening. So that being said, I'm going to open this up. I don't have any questions. I never have questions. You guys aren't a question group. So I'm going to wrap this up. If you do have questions that you're too shy to ask on the live event, then go to support@creditsuite.com. support@creditsuite.com. We will answer any questions you have. We'll set up a consult with you. We'll walk you through it. Also, don't forget, our sales team will help you during your initial presentations, okay? We've even got an affiliate program. So if you're still trying to figure out some things to get ready to dive in and really feel comfortable, then refer them to our sales team. Let us close. When we close a deal, you get paid, or you can even get credits towards your finance suite, the next one you sell, okay? Or if you want to take the next step and you're comfortable enough to, but not 100% there, well then get with our support team. Get with the person that brought you in. Our sales team will help you get on a three-way call and even help you close your initial sales. So help you build that confidence. So we got options here, right? You know, you go through our affiliate program. If you're not ready to start selling yet, you got leads lining up and you don't want to sit on them, then get them to us. Let us convert them for you and pay you handsomely. You can make like hundreds and hundreds of dollars, like $600, $200 to $600 if we close it for you during that transition period. And then when you're beyond that transition, you're like, I'm ready to go, but I'm not 100% confident, then let our sales team help you through that. So our team will jump on the phone with you and help you close, and then you gain your confidence, and then you're to that final stage where you're completely on your own. So just remember, we've got solutions no matter where you are in the process of getting up and going. And if you have any questions about any of it, you can let us know, support@creditsuite.com. You can also give us a ring. I'm not sure about the our support number off the top of my head, but I am sure about the 877-600-2487 number, so you can get hold of us there. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, guys. You have everything you need now to do a successful presentation, interview, and close. If you have any other questions, let us know. support@creditsuite.com. You can also give us a ring at 877-600-2487. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.